Go ahead, punk. Make me play.
This is Bumping Into That Sound.
Welcome to Bumping Into That Sound, the rock-centric music and tone podcast where we dive deep into the riffs, rhythms and stories behind your favourite artists, tracks and instruments. My name is Francis and I'm your host. Whether you're a classic rock enthusiast or just discovering the magic of it for the first time, we've got you covered. Each episode, we explore the story behind the sounds, the people and the equipment. From Whitesnake to Dio and of course the Dead Daisies, our guitarist today is a true rock and roll icon. I'm of course talking about the powerhouse guitarist and absolute gentleman of the music industry, Doug Aldrich. A guitarist whose work is multi-generational and he continues to keep innovating and creating some of the best new hard rock and blues rock songs of the modern era. Speaking of new rock, the Dead Daisies have recently released a new album called Light 'Em Up and are about to release a new blues album called Lookin For Trouble. To add to all of that, Doug has partnered with Blackstar Amplification to release his own signature amplifier called the DA Ruby 100, and it sounds amazing. So buckle up. We're about to hear firsthand from the man who's lived the rock and roll dream and get into all of the above in detail. Turn up the volume and welcome Doug Aldrich.
Francis?
Hey, Doug, how you going?
I'm going good, man. How are you going?
Yeah, I'm really good. Yeah, thanks very much for making time at your Friday late afternoon.
Of course.
You
No
and happy
worries.
birthday for the other day.
Thanks, man.
Did you have a
Thanks.
good day?
Yeah, I was mellow. You know, I mean, when you get past 60, it's like, I have always the best part of the thing is just having a little cake with the family, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, geez, past 60, you definitely don't look it. That's for sure. That's 100% for sure.
Thank you, buddy.
What I wanted to do is I wanted to quiz you up. I've got a couple of directions that I want to go in, a couple of key areas, and I didn't want to
Okay.
sort of make it the same as what everyone bombards you with. But I wanted to start with your amp, the new signature amp.
Can you see it right
I
here?
could see it. It looks great.
It's incredible. It's a brand new Blackstar. It's called the DA 100 Ruby, and it's killer, man. I wish you could hear it.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I saw your videos at NAMM. So I was sort of waiting for them all to come out, which as they were coming out, I was watching and watching and watching. And your one, I mean, there's plenty that sounded good, but that one just sounded more. It's just got
Really?
more about it.
That's all. You never know because it's always recorded on an iPhone or whatever. But
Yeah.
man, I'm telling you, it's incredible. I'm so excited for it. And in fact, you know, it's the first time because I had to get my chops back together after taking some time off at the end of last year.
Yeah.
I've been playing every day, and this amp is so inspiring. It couldn't be a better timing for me because it's like I can't wait to come out here and play and practice. And I'm going through, I got my settings on the amp now that are just perfect. I never had that much time to kind of prepare for a tour, so it's working out great, and I love this amp.
Look, I thought it sounded unreal.
Thanks.
Obviously Marshall brought their modded ones out, and
Those
then
are great. Yeah.
Dave brought out his Jose amp.
Yep.
And while they all sound really good and they've got their flavors, but the minute I heard I must have watched your videos 4 or 5 times with headphones because the sound, the bottom end, yours just tend to have this bottom end roar that's not woofy, it's not flubby, it's just grunt.
That's amazing that you bring that up because this amp has it's a master section that's got a master presence and a master, it's called resonance, that they talk about. It basically will increase the bottom end. And I usually, I turn it up just for taste and stuff. It just makes the amp sound huge at any volume. And
Wow.
Obviously the louder you turn it up, the less you need it, because then you're starting to push airwaves and you don't need it. But it's kind of like, do you remember back when I was a kid, or no, when you were a kid, when I was in my whatever late teens or whatever it was, I they came out with the loudness button for when
Yeah,
you're listening low and you hit the loudness and all of a sudden it would be nice and warm on the bottom end.
yeah,
And that's what this is like, the resonance.
which is
But
perfect.
then again, live, you don't, you're playing louder, you don't need it as much, but it's really great. And it's three channels, but it's like there's infinite sounds, more than I need, but I'm super inspired by it. So if anybody gets a chance to try not just this, but the Blackstar, it's based off of the Blackstar's HT100 line, their HT100 range, and so they're very similar. But if a store has a Ruby in stock, it would be fantastic because people will love it.
Yeah, well, I've already hit up the Brisbane Blackstar dealer,
Thank you.
and I've hit them up and I've said, oh, how long? When's it coming? And they're like, yeah, yeah, we're waiting for more details. But they've listed it as an amp that's available, and
It's coming.
it's good price.
Yeah.
It's not as if they're sticking it to people. It's a fair price for what it offers.
Man, it's a good price. It's a great amp. I'm super excited about it. That's one of the coolest things is that it's not going to break anybody's bank that much.
Yeah,
Maybe they'll come out with some smaller versions too that would even be more cost
yeah,
effective.
like a 20
But
watt would be unreal.
yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see how it does and everything. But I'm just happy to have one for myself. I don't even the rest of it is just a bonus. But I'm very happy to have it here and be able to, you know, really get to know the app. It's great.
And was it a long like from because you were with Blackstar for a couple of years, so you jumped on and was that a long process of when they said to you, look, we think we should do one and let's start? Was there a lot of back and forth or did it
No,
just really happen really quick and organically?
yeah, it was just natural. They didn't, I mean, I wasn't trying to do anything with anybody. What happened is they wanted to, the Dead Daisies wanted a company to work with that we were going to work together, cross promote each other's products and just some fresh blood, in there because we had, we had various different companies that we were working with that Blackstar said, we'll do the whole back line, bass, two guitars, everything. So me and David did a shootout of all their amps to try which ones we liked. And we agreed on the HT100 line and Michael Devin got I forget what it's called, B3000 or something, but it's one of their bass rigs. And we toured with it in 2023 and we loved it so much. Couldn't wait to get back on the road in 24 with them. And somewhere in the end of 23, they said, hey, what do you think? Maybe we should do an amp. And I said, I would love it, if that's something that's good for everybody. I said, there's a couple little changes I'd do just to ask for it. One of the changes is it's got an effects loop. They all have an effects loop built in, but this one's got a switch on the floor on the pedal board that comes with the amp. So you can switch the effects in and out, whether it's a little reverb pedal you got or a delay pedal or whatever you want to put in the effects
Oh,
loop. Usually for those people, I mean, you know this, but usually for those people that don't know, like a reverb or a delay generally sounds better in the effects loop
yeah.
after the preamp tubes, before the power tubes. If you put it on the pedal board as a standalone delay or whatever, it's going to hit the front of the amp and it's going to hit the preamp tubes and it's a different sound. So this way, you can have your delay pedal sitting back by the amp and then you can switch it on and off with the floorboard and it's just great. It's one of the coolest things. It's also got reverb built in, which I leave on just a little bit. And then it's got 3 channels with 2 different voices each. So it covers everything, man. But yeah, so
Wow.
I asked them to make a few little things like that. And we adjusted the mid-range bias a little bit. And that's it. Everything else is pretty much the same. We put it into a really nice ruby red Tolex.
Yeah, it looks
That
beautiful.
is, yeah, it's so cool, man. I'm super happy.
And did you, because historically you've had your Marshall, your Sir modded Marshall, and
I, I
was it a
love
big
Marshall. Yeah.
difference? Did you notice like the
Um,
EQ? What was it? Because like when I plug into something, and it's weird because you go to try something different, but you tend to find yourself setting that amp up to sound. The DNA is the same, but you want a bit of different herbs and spices across the top.
do you know what? It's funny that you mentioned that because that's how, like, whenever you play through a different app, you end up kind of gravitating towards what's comfortable for you,
Yeah,
and then you're gonna just spice it up how you said. But the my I always loved Marshall since I was a kid. I still in this room I've got probably 15 different Marshalls,
wow.
all in various states. Most of them are older. Um, I've got a 68 super bass right there. I've got a can't see it, but I got a couple of I got a 71 and a 73 super lead right there, and then my modded Marshalls, the ones that John Suhr did were stellar and amazing. And I actually even have a couple of Suhr amps here as well that are
Wow.
kind of copies of that. And I always would find on the amp that it had that one sweet spot of those amps, and it was really good. With this Blackstar, there was definitely a more range of different sounds that were usable for me. And I could get that exact same mid-range crunch sound that I love, and then I could slam it with some pedals if I wanted to with the Blackstar. But the Blackstar had this, that was my middle channel. Then there's like a lead channel that you can get a little extra gain on. Actually, it's got a lot of gain if you want it. But I just use a little bit of it. And then there's a clean channel that's just insane. Really great for practicing, really great for just um, being inspired to play some different things. And so, it was pretty easy to just go, this thing does it all. It does exactly what my Marshalls was doing, but it also gives me some other options.
And you've got your the Magic Box pedal that you were using. Is that redundant now that you've got all those channels built in, or you still take that, or
Yeah.
you still use it?
No, I have them and they're great. I'm not taking it on the road because basically the Blackstar, it is redundant.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, you can take it and it'll work. I mean, see, here's the thing. That pedal was doing what Channel 3 does on the Blackstar anyways.
Yeah.
Um, I had on those modded Marshalls, I had a boost switch so that when it came time to do a solo, I could hit that boost and it would raise it a little bit. And then I'd kick on the Magic Box or something like that to give it a little more gain. But
Yeah.
within the pedal board of the Blackstar, that there's that third channel that's great for solos, and you can basically set it to be slightly louder. And then it'll have a little more gain as well. It's got individual controls on the front, and it's got a 4 dB boost switch as well in case you want to anywhere whatever sound you got. If you just want to boost it for a
It's
solo
there.
or something, you could do that. Because sometimes
Wow.
you got a clean sound and you want to boost it a little bit for a solo, for a cleaner solo. I don't want to switch to that third channel because it's too hot. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So this way I'm just hitting the boost and I'm raising up that clean channel so I can do a little bit of a nice cleaner solo. But for general Dead Daisies stuff or Whitesnake type of guitar, channel 3 is perfect for soloing.
Wow. You've got to give it to those Blackstar guys. They've really they're not afraid to innovate and push and do more. A lot of other amp builders, and I remember one of them was on a podcast that he goes, it's the three ex Marshall guys, and he said Marshall are so scared of anything that isn't all valve. They've got this thing where no matter how hard we tried, they would refuse to go past that. And you look at what they're doing, and they're just innovating and innovating, but they've kept the DNA, the core of that classic sound and everything that makes it up, and then they're just giving you more and more and more to evolve with.
Well, here's the thing: is I'm old school. I love tubes. Analog is generally where that's my comfort zone is analog, and I have used some. Marshall did later get into some digital amps. There was, I forget what it was called, but it had a digital amp that had some effects in it. And it was really cool. It was good. And I know Blackstar's got tons of stuff that's great. I mean, I've got this, I was watching online last year, or 2 years ago, I don't remember when, and I saw another guitar player playing this, it's called something 5. It's a red pedal board that basically has an amp built in, and it's got a few channels, and it's awesome. But and I loved it, and you can't tell. It sounds like a tube amp, so the technology is there. But this is a tube amp, and one thing that you reminded me, which I'm glad you did, was one of the things that Blackstar's doing that nobody else is doing as good as them, in my opinion, is the cab simulation. So you can take an XLR cable or a 1/4-inch cable and come out of the back of the amp, and you can go directly into your recording studio. You can go directly into your computer. You can go directly to the PA, and you put your amp on standby, and you'll be able to hear what it's doing. And there's 3 cabinets that's loaded into it. So there's 3 of my favorite cabinets. They have 3 of their favorite cabinets in the other amps, but you can go into, on your computer, and you can pick a different cabinet or whatever, and man, it sounds incredible. So it's like the best of both worlds: analog tube amp, but then a digital amp simulation, which is kind of state of the art right now.
Yeah.
And man, it sounds insane. You don't need to mic your cabinet anymore, is what I'm saying. You don't need a mic. Of course, I have, with the Dead Daisies, we have an Australian front of house engineer that he's old school. He mixed Guns N' Roses and Rose Tattoo and a bunch of other bands. But so he loves microphones, but he doesn't have to use it.
Yeah, you've got that option.
Yeah.
That's unreal, isn't it? And the flexibility for the guy who plays at home that offers.
Well, yeah, you don't have to plug it into a speaker cabinet. You can basically unplug it, and it's safe, and you can plug it directly into your computer rig, and it sounds like a full stack, a full 4x12 blast.
That's unreal.
It really sounds great.
Because speaking of the cabinet, tell me if I'm wrong. Historically, you were a greenback sort of guy, and this has the vintage 30s.
Yeah.
Was that a thing they just paired better, or how did that happen?
That was just listening to the cabinets that we had. That one had greenbacks and one had the vintage 30s. That was just a better for all and above a wider range of frequencies.
Right.
It just paired better. Basically, the sound, my main sound probably would sound very similar with greenbacks or vintage 30s, but the clean sound and some of the more dynamic stuff works really well with this speaker. And this is also the Ruby cabinet is it's with the proper English Celestians. They're like made in England.
Real deal ones.
The real deal, yeah.
That's unreal. And you've got the pickups, your signature pickups.
Yeah, I still
which
use
are unreal.
those. Thank you.
I've got a set. I actually got a set of those, and I had them put into a Les Paul. And when I went to pick it up, the guitar technician said to me, "Oh, you've hit the nail on the head with these. I haven't come across these ones before, and they're unreal." So
that's cool, man.
Yeah,
that means a lot. I gotta hand it to John Suhr. He's a genius when it comes to tone, and he always was. I mean, when I first met John, he had pens of Suhr guitars back in the 80s, and in the 90s, late 90s, I met him, and we hit it off, and he wound some pickups for me that were they were some P90 soap bars for a Les Paul, and he rewound them, and they sounded so good. And then he started Suhr guitars and Suhr pickups, and he was involved in the custom audio electronics amp, which led to my mod on my Marshall. And he said, I go, John, I want to pick up that's a little hot, but I don't want it to be compressed. And he goes, let me work on it. And he sent me 4 pickups. He goes, see which one, if there's any of these that are good. They're all slightly different, a little different heat. And then they all sound great. None of them are compressed, but just different heat and different EQ. And I picked the 3rd one, and that's what it is. That's what the John Suhr Aldrich
Oh.
pickup is something that he designed based off of. It's basically a hot PAF that's open and
Yeah.
big. It doesn't sound compressed. It's really nice.
Yeah, no, it is really nice, and it works well too when you tune down as well. It
Yeah,
keeps that organic breath through it. It
yeah,
just works really, really well. It's perfect pickup really for a Les Paul.
yeah. I love it, and I have a lot of friends that put them into super strats or different stuff. I mean, even Reb Beach had guitar, a Sir Modern is called. It's a kind of like a upper end super strat with two humbuckers, and he stuck a couple of those in there, and he really loved them. Um, and some other friends, have put them in different guitars, but yeah, generally they're perfect for the Les Paul replacement.
Yeah.
And I saw John at have you ever been to the NAMM show?
No, never.
It's it's that big trade show in Los Angeles every year, and everybody brings all the companies bring their gear, their products, everything from guitar picks to piano strings and amp companies, and everybody's there. And I went over to say hi to John, and I've been talking to John. I go, John, I want to make. I love the Sir pickup that you make me, but I want to make a P90 pickup too because I started getting some guitars with P90s, and I want to get something that's quieter but a little hotter. And he was like, "Oh man, it's I've been working on that for years. I haven't really got it nailed exactly how I want to get it." And I'm like, I roll up to his booth. I'm like, "Hey John, how's it going?" And there on the wall, he's got a Pete Thorne P90, Sir P90. I'm like, "Dude, that's
That's the
supposed to be
one.
my pickup." He goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. It was a secret. It was a secret mission. I couldn't tell you." I'm like, "We got to do one, John. We got to do one." So I put the bug in his ear, like, "Okay, you did one for Pete Thorne. Now let's do one." So maybe we'll get to it.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's cool. Because I was going to ask, is there any maybe like a signature guitar that might be in the pipeline?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the guys at Gibson are friends of mine, and there's a lot of companies that I've worked with over the years, including John. They've all offered to do stuff, and but I basically really happy with what I got.
Yeah.
And somebody can order a Les Paul, and they could say, "Hey, can could I order it special with Aldrich pickups or something, or you know maybe one day I'll do a little small run with Gibson or something where it's like exactly to my specs." Um, I'm I'm a little picky about frets. Like I like the frets to be a certain way. I like
Oh, okay.
I kind of like the thin tall frets at 51. Sorry, not 5100, 5150s they're called. No, not 5150s. 5105s. Sorry,
Right.
5100s are the big ones that are fat, and the 5105s, I believe, are the skinny ones. But I'll have to double check that.
Because you like
Um,
stainless, don't you?
I do like stainless. I have
Yeah.
some that are stainless, and I have some that are nickel because stainless didn't really become a thing where I could get my hands on it until maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Mm.
Um, there's a guy that works in Los Angeles that makes guitars called Bruce Nelson, and Bruce is a guitar player, builder, and guitar tech for Dean DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots, and he's now making his own guitars, Nelson guitars. But he had done frets for me for probably he probably did about 5 or 6, 7 guitars for me. And John Suhr also did frets for me. John does great frets. But John and I were using nickel, and Bruce is when I started using the stainless.
Oh, right. With your strings, what gauge strings is your go-to?
These are 10 to 46. They're Dunlop, so it's standard, light gauge or regular gauge, whatever you call it, 10, 0,
Okay.
10 to 046. And they are, typically on all these guitars at home, I have them tuned to, typically I have them tuned to standard. So everything's kind of set up for standard. But then for my touring guitars, they're set up for E flat. So it's a little more slinky.
Right. Yeah. Because I was going to say most of the Dead Daisies live stuff is tuned for E flat, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Is if you go back to so the new amplifier you've is named after your daughter Ruby. Then you've got years ago you had a pedal that I believe was named after your son Ryder.
Yeah, yeah. I was
Yeah.
working with a company called Fox Gear, and what it is that sometimes in that situation, the Blackstar situation, they said you want to do something, and we decided to do an amp, and we talked about all the things, and they then they said, "What do you think we should call it?" And I go, "I don't know, like well, just any name." And I said, "How about Ruby?" And they go, "Cool." But Fox Gear, which is a great company, they actually presented me with a pedal that was already called the Rider,
Oh,
and
right.
I don't know how that happened, but it was a really cool pedal. It was a overdrive pedal, but we never really did much with it. I think they sold a few of them maybe, but I have them. I have it still. I should, now that you bring it up, I want to break it out and see what it sounds like in front of the Blackstar, because
Yeah.
a lot of people were asking me about the Blackstar. Will it take a pedal if you want? And yes, it will. I got in front of me. I've got a whole bunch of different fuzz boxes that I wanted to see what paired well with it.
Oh,
And
okay.
keeping my normal settings app, I wanted to see like what the R2R electric or the Solo Dallas, or there is a Australian company. I think they're Australian. They're called DVK, and they make this pedal called a Gold Top. Kind of funny. It's called a Gold Top, and it's basically a fuzz on one side, and it's got a like a univibe type of pedal on the left, and it's my favorite univibe pedal.
Oh,
And the fuzz is great. Like the fuzz, you can set it to be an overdrive or you can have it set to be fuzzy, with a clean channel,
yep.
and it's killer. But so I've been testing pedals with the amp just to see, what matches good and different stuff.
Because
But
surely
yeah,
everything would work well. I mean, if you've got all that versatility in those channels, that amp's just going
yeah.
to
I mean, well,
accommodate.
that's right, and that's the thing that the fuzz tone works with the clean channel with the secondary um, filter, whatever secondary, not filter, mode, whatever. Uh, Three channels, each has a separate voice. So
Right.
the clean channel with the crunch voice, when you hit when you hit the pedal again. In fact, I'll show you this pedal so you can see what I'm saying. Um, it works great with a fuzz when it's clean. So
Oh,
basically,
okay. Yep.
here's your clean, and I got it set. It's green right now, the
Yep.
clean. And then if you hit it again, it goes to the second voice. And
Geez,
then
that's
if you go
clever.
to then you go to the second channel, it's green. But if you hit it again, it goes to the red. But I like the green one the best, the way it's set. And then I go back to this one that's red because I left it at red. But the red clean channel works so good with a fuzz. It's killer. And then, as I said, you got your third channel, which I have set to green. If you hit it again, you can go over the top and go red with it. Tons of gain. But for me, that's really good right there. It's a little louder than this one, and it's got a little more gain than this one. And then the boot, like I said, if you're on this channel and maybe you're on the super clean, but you want to do a clean solo, you can use the boost, get 4 dB boost
It just
to
pushes
lift you
it.
out of the push it, and then the effects loop.
Geez, it's
And
all there laid out.
yeah, it's super easy to work with. So anyway, we keep going back to the amp. I guess I am very excited about it.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Um, the other thing that I was going to quiz you on, because I want to ask you about the amps, especially a few differences in sound, but I'll circle around. I want to go back to before the Dead Daisies. I'm curious to know when you decided to become a professional musician. What do you remember
Uh,
that turning point? that you said, this is what I want to do and let's go?
I mean, I was really young, probably. I didn't know. I never talked about it. Um, Nobody ever. I was meant to go to, finishing school. What do they call it? In university.
Right.
I was meant to go to university and all that stuff, but I didn't. I got out of the regular grade school and I basically moved out. I was 18. I moved out and moved to California and just was going for it. I didn't think about trying to be professional. I just wanted to play guitar. I just loved it.
Wow.
But I must have been really young prior to that. Maybe I was 15 and really starting to get into guitar a lot. I realized that, my sporting days, I was a little bit too, I wasn't big enough to compete with the older kids. And so I was in love with music. So at some point looking at an album, I probably was thinking like, man, I want to do this. I want to make a record, but I didn't
Yeah.
think about it too hard. I just thought it would be really cool to do that. All I did was just enjoy practicing and playing and learning songs. And for a long time, me and my friends in high school, I'd have my mom would drop me off at my friend's house on Friday afternoon, and we'd be learning songs all weekend in the basement, just going through, jamming basically with the drummer and a bass player. And I spent, a lot of time doing that. And then, as I said, I got out of school and turned 18 and came to California and just put a band together and started playing the clubs. And I never really, wasn't really making too much money. We made a little bit of money, like some pocket money.
Yeah.
And it was rough going for a while, but eventually I got some offers to do some lessons, to teach some people, wanted to learn how to play like rock style. And that led me to going into a music store and asking if I could teach. And they said, yeah. And it happened to be at a time when everybody was freaking out about, Van Halen was huge and Randy Rhoads had already passed away. He'd already made a mark. And then all these guys like Gary Moore and Jimmy Page and everybody, Blackmore and Angus. So everybody wanted to play that kind of guitar. And I was one of the only teachers around in that area doing that in California in this one area. And so I was making money. I was playing guitar all day. And I did that for 4 or 5 years and I'm still playing in clubs and stuff and just got lucky, So me and my friends made a band and we got signed to a little record deal. We were not like your typical LA band. We were more like a British sounding band, more like a kind of a Whitesnake-y. We loved bands like Whitesnake and Thin Lizzy and Deep Purple, AC/DC, that kind of stuff, blues-based rock, not
Yeah.
the glam stuff, not like Motley Crue kind of thing, which was great, but we just weren't doing it. So we didn't get like a proper amazing record deal. We got like one of the last deals. I'm going to plug in my phone because I don't want it to die on us. Excuse me one sec, brother.
Yeah. Take your time.
So we got a deal and we made a record that was pretty cool, but the record company wouldn't support it, so it just kind of fell out. And that's when I started, taking other jobs with other people, but little by little I've just been super lucky. And you asked me when I decided to make it a career. I mean, I still haven't decided for sure. I just keep hoping that I can continue on, the path I'm on.
Because was there a moment? I mean, you've well experienced. You're the ultimate professional. You're highly regarded. Was there a moment that you ever took the time to step back and go, okay, I can take the foot off the pedal. I've done it. I've achieved it. Or is there still that? No, there's more. There's more. There's more. No looking back yet.
Well, no, looking back, because basically I have mouths to feed. I mean, I gotta work. I gotta make a living, and I got people that rely on me. You know, I got kids. I'm an older dad, so my kids are still. My son's 15, my daughter's 9, and um, so there's a responsibility now. I'm like, I'm in my 60s. I still gotta kick some ass for another couple decades. You know what I mean? But I still feel like a kid sitting here with all this gear. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like a dream. I never dreamed I would have more than a couple guitars or whatever. And just little by little over these years, all these years, I collected a bunch of really cool things. So I've never sat there and went, okay, I'm done. You know, I've done it. I'm just grateful to do it, and I want to keep doing it. And one thing that did happen, we haven't talked about, but I got sick last year. I got cancer,
Yeah, I did hear
and
that. Yeah.
yeah, and it set me back. I had to get a. I found out basically in the summertime last summer, and then it took me a while to get the doctors all lined up to do the operation and all this stuff. And so I squeezed in a Dead Daisies run in the UK. We did a bunch of dates, and then I got home and I was trying to work it so I could get the surgery and then be healthy enough to go do the European dates that we had at the end of the year. And then I would do the radiation treatment after that. But the doctor was like, look, think you're going to, I don't think you should wait. I think you should just do the operation, get healthy, and then start the radiation. And that's what I did. And so I got Red Beach from Winger and Whitesnake to come in and fill in for me. And I got the operation. They took it was on my tonsil, the cancer, and so they took out the tonsil, which is not a lot of fun. But
I can
and they
imagine.
took out some lymph nodes right here. And it's healed up really nicely, but you know, then I had to get. It took me a while to learn how to eat again because your jaw is basically like I could barely open it. You know, I could only like suck milkshakes and stuff. So then I got that together, and then they said, okay, now we do the radiation, and the radiation is when they take the radio beams and they fry. They just basically every day for 15 minutes they fry it. They fry your neck, and I thought it was just going to be like right here, but they basically go all the way across like this for 15 minutes, and so that was the whole thing where I was burnt. I was tired and just felt beat up. And I couldn't really, even if my guitar was right there, I'm sitting here talking to you, I'd be like, man, Francis, I'm going to go lay down, man. I need a nap,
Oh,
you know?
wow.
And
It
I
zonked you
just,
that much.
oh man, it was just like, I'd feel okay after the session every day. They gave me Saturday and Sunday off every week. It was 6 weeks. And, I got finished up right before Christmas. But man, it was just brutal, you know. So I didn't play. I played a little bit I played when I was recovering from the surgery, but then the radiation, I was just resting. I didn't have any energy. Mind you, had I had a gig to play with the Dead Daisies, I would have done it, and I would have been fine. I would have done it, but um, there was some periods where my neck was not in good condition. It was basically fried, burnt, and
Oh, jeez.
it didn't look good. So that wouldn't have gone over too well. But yeah, so I was at home and I just rested, and so my chops went away. I mean, I
Oh,
picked up the guitar in December, and I'm just like, wow, I really, it's like I feel weak. So I'm just now. I mean, I started playing right before Christmas, and in January I was playing as much as I could, but it takes time, man. When you go back down that far, and it's just now, it's because of having the Blackstar amp here that I've just been in this room every day playing and just digging it, loving it, and not just sitting down playing, but standing up playing like, you know, when I was a kid, I used to do. You know, I didn't
oh,
sit down and practice. I'd stand up with my rig. It was like, you know, I want to change some knobs. I'm playing, and I get into it for a minute. Oh, this feels great. Then I'm like, oh, what if happens if I change pedals? So I basically sit here all day, and my chops are finally I'm not going to say I'm back 100%, but I feel pretty damn close. I feel
Geez, that's
good.
really good. That is really good. And it's good. It's good. It hasn't taken that long for you to feel match fit again.
Yeah, it just took effort. I mean, I didn't realize that it was going to take that much effort to come back. It when you put down the guitar for a couple weeks, sometimes you come back and you're more fresh
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
more, you still got your strength and everything. But I lost not that much weight, but probably like about 20 pounds or 30 pounds and just overall muscles kind of,
Yeah. That's
it
the
was,
problem, isn't it? The muscle goes first. Yeah.
yeah, I'm still working on putting weight back where it wants to be and keeping it in a way where I don't want it to be.
Yeah.
But so that's cool. But yeah, I feel good. Chops are back, and so longest answers of all time in this interview. But yeah, there's never been a point where I'm like I'm good. I can just kick back and rest.
Wow. You mentioned you've got young kids, which
Yeah,
I wanted to quiz you on because I sort of admire your approach to the industry. It's this very professional, balanced, and I've wondered how when your kids were little, which, say if you go back 5 years ago, being on the road, and I'm sure like if one of you or your wife is away, even for an afternoon, or one goes out for dinner, when you've got little kids, it's not twice as hard. It's 4 or 5 times harder when you're on your own.
yeah, it
Um,
is.
and how was that? Was that like a mental battle for you, being like, well, I want to be out on the road. This is what I do, but I know that my wife's at home working 2, 3 times as hard while I'm out on stage having a good time.
Yeah, there's definitely it's and of course when you add to it like, hey babe, I'm gonna go down to the bar, meet the guys and have a quick beer, it's like you're joking, right? I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I mean that's what we do. We gotta talk about the show and see what we could do better. And like, we meet down at the bar, we have a beer, or whatever, a drink. And that doesn't go over too good. You know what I mean? It's like then when you're at home later, you're like, oh hey, do you mind if I do this? It's like, yes, I do mind because when you were off partying every night on tour, I'm
Yeah.
like, it wasn't a party. We were
It was
working.
work.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I worked at the
Yeah.
bar after the show, after playing music for 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I got a great wife, and she's always been supportive, and she was never mean about it like that. Just only once in a while she'd be ribbing me about it. But yeah, it's hard because but that's what we do. We we
Yeah.
we travel. We travel to go play music to promote what we're working on and make people happy, hopefully, um, and the enjoyment comes from playing, live. Traveling and being away is the hard part. That's kind of what people always say is like that's what we get paid for, is to be away from home and to travel, because you get beat up. You get, even though um, ever since Whitesnake, I've always been really, we were traveling business class, and
Wow.
it's always been really nice.
Yeah.
And with the Dead Daisies, they look after us really well. Um, it is it is rough sometimes because sometimes we'll do a bunch of shows on the road and it's travel every day, but they do their best to take care of us so we can do a good job.
It's funny.
But yeah, it's anyway.
Because I've always thought that musicians don't give themselves the credit they deserve in terms of the personal, the treatment. And like an athlete is very much like, I need this much sleep, I need this type of food, I need to go for a run, I need to do this. And the musicians had this thing of, it's a party, I'm going to drink, I'm going to stay up all night. But if you look at them, you go, you should be regarding yourself as important as the athlete. You should be worried about what you're eating, how you're training, because you're a performer and you're performing under tough circumstances. You need to be optimal in all regard, but a lot of them don't view it that way.
Yeah, it's true. It's not taken as seriously sometimes as sports is big business. So
Yeah, yeah,
when you've got an investment in an athlete that's millions and millions of dollars, of course there's pressure, there's contracts that say like, you need to maintain this speed and this weight and blah blah blah. With musicians, it's kind of like that, like you said, it's a free for all. you're left to your own to decide, how do I want to take care of myself? And,
Yeah.
you know, after a while, fortunately, most myself and most of the people I've worked with, nobody's ever really been super into partying that much. I mean, the most people would do would be, I mean, drinking is the
Yeah.
worst of it. And a lot of us don't really drink at all or very much because you get past it. It's not the same. But when you're younger, you have stamina that is, yeah, you can work hard and party hard and sleep a few hours and do it again. It won't even really phase you. So that I would say overall, touring and stuff is the most, you need to do it when you're in your 20s through 40s. And then when you're 50s, 60s, 70s, all that stuff, you got to look after yourself a bit more.
I'll jump to the Dead Daisies because I want to quiz you about the Dead Daisies.
Yeah,
Do you remember? Because it seems for me yourself, you just feel like this foundational part, like the fabric of it. It just feels so right. You being in that band, the sound, everything feels right
thanks.
about you being in it. Do you remember getting the gig and starting with them? Like, do you remember that starting point?
Yeah, totally. Because I I found out about the Dead Daisies around 2015. I know they started prior to that with John Stevens and David had been working with John Stevens and they did a few songs. They did a song with Slash. Then eventually they were working with Richard Fortus and Dizzy from Guns N' Roses. Um, but I found out about them on an album, on the Revolution album. They had put out a single for Midnight Moses, and John was in the band, and I'm like, whoa, that's. And I heard about him because Marco and I, we're still friends from our Whitesnake days, and we might have bumped into each other. And he said, "Yeah, I'm doing this thing with the Dead Daisies. It's called the Dead Daisies, and blah blah blah." And then John got involved, and Brian was involved, Brian Tishy, and they put out Midnight Moses, and I thought that's brilliant. It's such a great song. And it they really owned it, And
Yeah.
a year after that or so, whenever that happened, I think that's when Guns N' Roses started to talk about getting back together, and Richard had still been involved with Axl, and Dizzy, of course, had been one of the original guys in Guns. So they were looking for a guitar player, and Richard recommended, "Hey, why don't you guys get Doug? You know him." So I was friends with all the guys. I knew John Crosby from high school days. Me and Tishy and Marco had all been in Whitesnake together at various points. And so I got a call, and David Lowy and I talked, and he goes, "Look, I know you know the guys, and we're looking for a lead guitar player, and I'm, you know, old school Australian style." I go, "I love it, And we got together, and it was just like, getting together with your family. It was like really felt like a family vibe
Yeah.
because everybody came together. We all, you know, you once you know people, you know what you're going to get, you know what they expect. And I had spent enough time talking to David that we didn't have any, it was like super comfortable right away. We had our job description, and we were going in to make a record right away, and that's what we did. And it was awesome, man. We did make some noise in Nashville. We basically got to the studio the first day, and Marty Fredrickson, the producer, co-writer, he said, "Everybody, let's all get guitars and we'll sit in a circle and let's just, start playing together." And we'd work on each other's riffs and ideas, and then record it on a tape machine or a phone or whatever. And little by little, we put that album together. But yeah, it was like January, I think, I want to say it was like January 24th or something, 2016 was my first day in the studio
Wow.
working with the guys.
So 10 years next year.
Yeah, or nine
Jeez.
years this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Wow.
feel like I've been grateful to be involved with these guys. We've had some killer lineups. but I gotta say that this lineup right now is absolutely one of my favorite. I mean,
Yeah.
we worked with Glenn Hughes for a while. We've had amazing drummers in Dean Casanova and Brian Tishy since I've been in the band. They prior to that, uh, some other great drummers and John Stevens I didn't work with, but John Corabi is amazing. He's to me
Yeah.
one of the greats.
Yep.
So we've I've had a blast working with David Lowy together. You know, working on this band of brothers with him has been very rewarding, and it's just a great opportunity for me. So
Yeah.
it's been cool. I do remember the first day. Yeah.
There's no, like, I say this to people when I talk about the Dead Daisies. There's definitely something special. There's something magical about the lineup at the moment, the sound that you guys have, the music that you're writing. It's something extra, and I would say that it's the golden time of modern rock. That we people don't realize how special what you guys are putting out is, because it is the pinnacle of taking everything, the best bits from the past, and making the best bits of now and bringing it together. It's the ultimate pairing. It really is a very special. It just feels really special. As someone that's into sound, I don't think anyone else is doing as good a job that you guys do. It's incredible.
I don't know. There's a lot of really good bands out there. We, you know, we have a great team behind us that helps us with, you know, getting the vision there that what David started and what we're trying to do. And it's going well, but we always, you know, we're just like the same as anybody else. We always want to do better for the next time. And we have never played a perfect show. We're trying to always do better that way as well. But I feel like we're doing some cool stuff, you know, and I feel good about it. And we, you know, we're a group of musicians who we've done a lot of different things individually, and then together we've been doing this for a while, and we're just going to keep rocking it. There's a lot of, you know, golden era. I don't know what it is. Maybe you're right, but there's a lot of younger bands that are starting to come around now that are playing this type of music that are it's just straight ahead, kicking the teeth, balls out, rock and roll, you know, and guys in their 20s that are even maybe in their teens.
Wow.
There's a band called it's got Slash's son playing drums.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
the band called Feel. Dirty Honey is out there doing this type of stuff. Um, yeah, so there's a bunch of musicians that are keeping it alive, and we're, you know, able to throw in some extra stuff because we've got more, you know, some other experiences.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely love what you guys do, and I feel the specialness, and I love all aspects of it. I love the professionalism, the artwork, the sound, the guitar riffs, the lyrics. I just, yeah, I think it's a special bond, and you can hear that when you guys are together. And you know, it is not, for me, it's the pinnacle of modern rock.
Well, that's thank you, man. That's coming from you. We really appreciate that, and I know you listen to a lot of stuff and you play, and so it means a lot. So we're just gonna keep going. We've got this single out right now that's a ballad. It's basically an anti-love song. It's like a breakup song.
Called, is it The Love That'll Never Be?
Yeah, love that'll never be. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was spacing. I was thinking about another thing that we got coming up, but that's another story. But yeah, love that'll never be is we released it on Valentine's Day, and it's typical story of, you know, you work really hard in this relationship and everything you're doing is just not working out, and we've all been there. And John
Yeah.
put it into words really beautifully, and it's a nice simple song that we kind of, you know, put a little bit of a Daisies vibe on it, and that's out right now, and it's doing really well.
Oh, that's really good. It is
In
a beautiful
Yeah,
song, and John's master craftsman. You know,
yeah,
he's unreal.
yeah.
His voice is unbelievable. So that's, I'm glad it's doing well. It deserves to do well. It proves once again how versatile and talented you guys are.
Well, thanks, man.
Well, Doug,
And then
I'm going to let you go. You've got someone
yeah,
else
yeah.
that's waiting for you, and I feel bad choking up all your time.
No, man, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Francis. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And it
Yeah,
was
no, I appreciate
really,
you.
really cool to talk about the amp. I'm glad that you were interested in it
No,
because
100%. As soon as that lands up in Brisbane, I'm heading up there to have a look, and then the convincing the wife will begin.
that's it. I know the feeling.
I appreciate your time, Doug. I really do, and I've had such a good time talking to you. It was one I've been looking forward to for a long time.
Thank you, brother. All the best, man.
Thanks, Doug. I'll see you soon.
Okay, cheers,
Okay,
Francis. Bye.
Bye. Thanks very much for sticking to the end of the show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did like it, if you could please leave a 5-star review or hit the like button, you would be so surprised at how much that helps other people find the episodes. So it is greatly appreciated. If you're interested in other topics, you can check out the original podcast, which is called Bumping Into. Head to bumpinginto.com.au. There you'll find podcasts that cover a whole range of different topics. If you're wanting to find out more about this episode, anything that was mentioned on this episode or this podcast, you can head to the new website, which is bumpingintothatsound.com.au. Find the episode page, and I always do my best to list follow-up links and details that make it easy for you to find out more. Thanks again for stopping by, and I'm looking forward to bumping into you next time.